Okay, we are doing the summary video. So we just finished July 1944. We're going to move on to January 45. Second last turn. All right. Here, let me grab a poker here. The French and the Vichy are tied at 2. FEC and the Australians are both at 7. The Dutch are still at 10. The British have been knocked down a few to 17, and the Italians have moved up to 18. Japan's up to 42. Russia's still at 58. Actually, I think it went up 1 to 58. Took a place from the British, or 2. The Americans are at 62, and the Germans are at 65. All right. Let's see where we move along from here. Let's start with the Germans first. They were the least recent, actually. I'm trying to remember what we all did, because it's been about 2 or 3 days since I actually did the German turn. It's been like minus 30 something retarded at night, and warming up to a whole lofty minus 25-ish during the day. So I'm getting really tired of wearing long johns and plugging in my vehicle and running it extra and driving everywhere instead of walking, because it's nuts. And I'm working full time, so I have a little bit less free time than normal. So the Germans took these units here on a little travel, and they hit that. There was a torpedo boat destroyer blocker up there. They took that blocker out. Then they floated in here, and they took out the Dutch blocker, the torpedo boat destroyer. So that fleet up there is actually in that location. That is 5, 6, 7, 8 subs, which were actually built in these 2 ports this turn. 3 light carriers, 3 jets, 1 advanced sub, 3 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and 2 battleships, along with the commander in this fleet card. And I left the transport separate because they may or may not move separately. They just came along to be protected. What else happened? Oh, I also placed the destroyer here and here as a blocker to prevent the Americans from coming at this fleet. In retaliation, the British took their fleet that was here, and they split it up. They took this blocker and that blocker out with these. The commander's actually in the fleet there. And then they took the rest of their fleet back here, which was very smart. And they didn't quite do a full blocker, but they took it out of range from mine. So now the British have their blockers everywhere, penning in the German fleet, keeping away from the Americans. So Britain, in retaliation, took these transports from over here, loaded them up, and dropped off these dudes here. So we got a Mach 3 infantry and 2 Marines. And they took out the one dude that was there, I believe. If there was even no, I don't think there was even a dude there that I can recall. And then, as you can see, the Americans just finished their turn, and they reinforced that. The Germans, however, had taken out the American forces that were here last turn, which is why that was empty. They took all their forces into Portugal and kicked the Americans out. Now the numbers are a little bit harder, because there are 12 units here, 13 including the seaplane. And yeah, it's going to make it a little bit harder on the Germans to kick out. So, in glorious retaliation, oh, also convoys were done by both the Italians and the Germans. They only managed to get a whole $2 off that line and a third dollar off that line, so not very successful. The Italians reinforced 4 more dudes into here. They moved these 2 mountains from Murcia, Valencia into Madrid, just to try and slow down the British if the Germans fail, or the Americans. Put something at least in that factory location. I'm pretty sure the Germans are probably going to build something there too, but you never know. All right. So the Germans have not actually done an attack on the Russians, but both Germany and Russia has been staging up their troops on the border. Russia's obviously just out of blitzing range, most of its troops. That way, if Germany uses the surprise attack thingy on Russia, it will not take out any vital units, and they'll still have the core of their army out of range until the second turn, when they can counterattack at more than one location. All right, that's about that for there. What did the Russians do? Was it this turn? That Russia attacked? Can't remember. I cannot remember. Was it this turn that Russia attacked this navy? The Netherlands Navy, and then Australia moved in and they attacked it back. And then this turn, for sure, Japan. No, that was the last turn. But anyway, this turn Japan came in and they took out the Australians that were remaining. So that's what happened over there. The Australians took out a Japanese blocker over here. And the Japanese also took out the Philippines, but the Americans moved a blocker in here and they took out the transports and the destroyer. So that's unfortunate. The Japanese took 2 damaged battleships. I'm not sure if that was the best idea, but I didn't want to lose 2 cruisers or 2 aircraft. So there we go. So the Japanese are down to this one dude on the one commander and a destroyer and a single transport for Navy. The Americans have this scattering of blockers here, so 4 destroyers and a cruiser and a transport. They just took out Palau actually. And then they, for the rest of their Navy, they've got this one battleship they just, or sorry, carrier and aircraft they just placed. They move forward. These guys, they're not going to get into the war, but they will be placed on the very last turn. And then for Navy, really, they got a carrier, 2 regular battleships, and an Iowa class, along with 3 destroyers. That's it. So they got 7 destroyers, 1 cruiser, 3 battleships, 2 carriers, and 2 coastal subs, of course. Can't forget these useless things. I tell you, the only reason I'm showing coastal subs and torpedo boat destroyers is because we're playing this game on video. Normally, I just swap these useless things out for regular destroyers and regular subs. Makes the game much simpler and easier to play. And I don't need to buy any crazy sculpts. Alright, I'm actually using a bunch of free sculpts I got from General Hand Grenade. Thank you again, sir. That were leftovers from his World War I Axis and Allies pieces. So I still haven't painted them all up to match my color scheme yet, though. Alright, let's see what else happened in this turn. The Japanese took Burma, and these aircraft flew back from Java, and on the way they killed a Japanese cruiser right here. Oh, and of course the Americans tried to convoy, but they failed against the Japanese. They just couldn't roll the right dice. Alright, that's that section here. The CCP have obviously moved out this past turn, so there you go. And they failed their recruitment roll, by the way. Now over here things got a little bit more sporting. The Russians took a transport from Aden. They wandered it down and they attacked South Africa with the transport. It had a Marine and a light tank on it. And then via the ground from Portuguese East Africa, they also attacked with an infantry and a cavalry. So they do still have a light tank and a cavalry here in South Africa, and they took $2 from the British, along with a medium factory. The Italians continued their spam across everything, so they took this past turn French, British and Italian Somaliland, Tanganyika, and Rhodesia. So they only took the British down by 2, but they now own pretty much everything here, except for what the Russians own, and these 2 worthless territories over here. Well, no printed value of worth on the map. All right. That's pretty much what happened. The French, they just built another, or they just lend-leased their money to the British. And the French, I did do wartime economy this time. I noticed they only had $2, so I think I failed last time. I can't remember. I noticed that there was a comment and I forgot to do it. But whatever. The French not getting their anywhere between $2 and $12 for 1 turn isn't really going to affect anything. It would have just been lend-lease to the British here. So the British are down to 17. They got a lend-lease total and wartime economy total of 8. The FEC got 7. The Australians have 7. So there's not really a lot of money floating around on this side of the map. The French are down to 9. And the Americans have, what did I say they had? 62 plus 12. So they've got 74. That's it. That's their total money for the Allies. Oh, and the Netherlands has got 10. And they built a fighter last turn because they can only build one thing at their factory, and instead of building colonials and militia, they just decided to build a fighter so they could actually attack some sea land or some sea units if need be. All right, so that is basically a rundown of the turn. Russia moved a bunch of dudes out here, and Japan's obviously made a bunch of blockers in China so that they can move at the CCP altogether or whatever. They didn't seal everything off. There is still this one location the CCP can go into is Sichuan in Tibet, but I don't know how likely that is. We'll see. Sorry about that. It's a little late. It's about 2:30 in the morning here. I'm working a late shift now, so I'll do this after I get home from work. So yeah, that is the summary video for this. I can't remember what everybody exactly built or whatever, but if you really care about that, watch my All Powers videos. They have the summary of everything that's going on. The only real struggle here is the U.S. still failed on their tech. They need to get this one tech completed. They got 2 more chances to do it. If they get it complete, they're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 for their victory point. All they got to do is roll some tech. And we are now, as I said, starting January 45, second last turn of the game. Who knows? I might decide on 45 here to do the variable ending option. But this game's getting pretty long here, and I don't know how many videos we really need to do, so maybe I won't do that. Yeah, so that's it. So the Allies are pretty much all in this bottom row here, stuck with the Italians. The Comintern's up here. The CCP still don't make any money, but they do make bonus money, so they're not completely broke. The Americans are up here with the Germans, but so are the Russians. I don't know. And Russia's still not at war with the Axis, but it is with the Allies, if that makes any sense. It does in this game, and the only reason for that is just really the only spot that the Russians could be at war with the Axis is here, here, and here. And in all these locations, if Russia really got pressed by the Axis in all these locations, they may get some short-term gain, which they might do on their last turn after Germany's done, or things really don't work out for Russia and gets crushed. But it's probably going to just go for the gusto. It's got quite a few points. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, really, So it's got 5 for the ones up there. It's only got 5 points for that. You get a 6th over there. Versus Japan, it looks like it's well on its way to having twice as many guys in the border. And I think there might be something else, I can't remember. But yeah, it's a little tight, so we'll see who wins this out. Oh, sorry guys. For some reason my there we go. For some reason my camera's getting all screwy here. Yeah. We're back to flat. Forgot to tighten up something and it all goes haywire. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there, and that is a summary video for July 44. Next turn, second last turn, January 44, upcoming. Hope to see you then, and like I said, if you need to know exactly what country did and when and how, I got all the rolls, I got everything, all Powers videos. I've broken it down to smaller videos so you don't have to watch like an hour and a half of video. See what Japan did. Germany and Russia, then I do Japan and Britain, and then I do Italy and the US. Trying to make it so that I have at least one Axis power in each of these videos, and either the Comintern or a major Allies power in each of these videos as well. Alright, that way it's not one-sided on all this, otherwise I'd be doing a separate video for every turn and then you just get spammed with them. Alright, yeah, so there you go. I'm looking forward to seeing you in January 1945. Brent Kirkus saying see you later. Bye.